me up, but I didn't do it. I didn't threaten anybody. In fact, the press was asking questions of the president of Ukraine, and he said, no pressure. I used the word pressure. I think he used the word push, but he meant pressure, but it's the same thing. No push, no pressure, no nothing. It's all a hoax, folks. It's all a big hoax. And the sad thing about this hoax is that we work so hard with all of these countries, and I mean, really hard. I've been up from early in the morning till late in the evening and meeting with different countries, all for the good of our country, and the press doesn't even cover all of this. And it's really disappointing also to those countries that are with us and spend so much time with us. So we want transparency. We've informed Kevin McCarthy about transparency, and we said vote for it. So I think you'll have close to 100% of the Republican votes, I hope. And they got almost no attention, but in May, CNN reported that Senators Robert Menendez, Richard Durbin, and Patrick Leahy wrote a letter to Ukraine's prosecutor general expressing concern at the closing of 4 investigations they said were critical. In the letter, they implied that their support for U.S. assistance to Ukraine was at stake, and that if they didn't do the right thing, they wouldn't get any assistance. Gee, doesn't that sound familiar? Doesn't that sound familiar? And Chris Murphy, who I've been dealing with on guns, you know, so nice. He's always, oh, no, we want to work it out. We want to work it out. But they're too busy wasting their time on the witch hunt. So Senator Chris Murphy literally threatened the president of Ukraine that if he doesn't do things right, they won't have Democrat support in Congress. So you're going to look all of this up. One other thing, I'm just going off certain notes and elements of what we've been doing over the last 3 days, but this just came up a few minutes ago. The Amazon Washington Post just put out a fake article that acting director of national intelligence, Joseph Maguire, who I've gotten to know, and he's a tough cookie, and I was surprised, I was shocked to hear this, was going to quit, blaming the White House for something that they wouldn't let him talk openly, freely. And I was shocked because I know Joe, and he's tough guy. And I was really surprised to hear he was going to quit. Before I could even either talk to him or talk to anybody else, he put out a statement. I didn't speak to Joe yet. But he said, at no time have I considered resigning my position. In other words, the story in the Washington Post was a fake. At no time have I considered resigning my position since assuming this role on August 16th, 2019. I have never quit anything in my life, and I am not going to start now. I'm committed to leading the intelligence community to address the diverse and complex threats facing our nation. That's from the acting director of national intelligence, a very good man, Joseph Maguire. So we're having a great period of time. Our country is the strongest it's ever been economically. Our numbers are phenomenal. Wilbur, thank you, and Larry, everybody. The numbers are phenomenal. Our economy is the strongest in the world. We're the largest economy in the world. Had my opponent won, we would be second right now, because China was catching us so rapidly, we would have been second by this time. And unless somebody does a very poor job as president, we're going to be first for a long way, because we've picked up trillions and trillions of dollars in value and worth of our country, and China has lost trillions and trillions of dollars and millions of jobs and their supply chain. And they want to make a deal. This year, America came to the United Nations stronger than we have ever been before. Since my election, the United States has not only brought our economy to a level that we have never seen, the most jobs that we've ever had. You know, you've heard me say it many times, African American, Asian American, Hispanic American, the best unemployment numbers we've ever had, and the most and best employment numbers, 160 million, very close to that number, in jobs. We've never been anywhere close. Wages are up, and inequality is down, something that people don't like writing about, but wages are up. I used to speak during the campaign, and I talk about wages where people were making less money 3 years ago than they were making 21 years ago, 22 years ago, and they'd have two jobs and 3 jobs. So when I say 3 years ago, I'm talking into the area sometime prior to the election. And they were doing very badly, and now, for the first time in many years, wages are up, and employment is up, and unemployment is down, and it's a beautiful thing to watch. In a week of active and ambitious diplomacy here at the United Nations, America renewed our friendships. We advanced our values greatly and made clear to everyone that the United States will always defend our citizens. To promote prosperity, I met with Prime Minister Boris Johnson at length of the United Kingdom, continuing our discussions on a magnificent new bilateral trade deal. So we'll see what happens with respect to Brexit, but I suspect we'll have a fantastic deal with the UK. It should be much bigger than it has been over the last number of years, over the last 20 years, frankly. It should be a much bigger deal. That's true with many countries. We're going to have much bigger trade deals with a lot of countries that have an opportunity to come, and they all want to do business with the United States, especially now. Earlier today, I stood alongside Prime Minister Abe of Japan, a friend of mine, a great gentleman, had a great re-election, and we signed a terrific new trade deal, which tremendously helps our farmers and ranchers and technology. The technology companies are really big beneficiaries. We also held very productive conversations with leaders of Pakistan, India, and many other nations on achieving stronger ties of fair and reciprocal trade. And with respect to Pakistan and India, we talked about Kashmir. And whatever help I can be, I said, I offered, whether it's arbitration or mediation or whatever it has to be, I'll do whatever I can, because they're at very serious odds right now, and hopefully that'll get better. You look at the 2 gentlemen heading those 2 countries, 2 good friends of mine. I said, fellas, work it out, just work it out. Those are 2 nuclear countries. They've got to work it out. This week, we also made incredible strides on national security. With President Duda of Poland, we signed a joint declaration advancing defense cooperation. And crucially, Poland has agreed to put up 100% of the money, something I don't think you've ever heard said before. But they're going to put up 100% of the money of hosting additional U.S. military personnel that we'll be taking from various other countries. We won't have more over. We'll be moving them around. Poland is building us phenomenal new facilities. They're spending everything, and they're going to really do a job. But we'll be moving a few thousand soldiers, and Poland will be paying that for it. Together with Prime Minister Lee of Singapore, I signed an important agreement extending our defense cooperation. This hasn't been changed in many years. And yesterday I met with prospective members of the Middle East Strategic Alliance, which is a group that I know very well. I know all of them. And through this effort, the nations of the Middle East are taking more responsibility for securing their own future and their own neighborhood. And they're also reimbursing us and paying us for a lot of the military work that we incredibly do. But because we're now independent energy-wise, we're energy independent, we have very few boats going over the Middle East. We used to have them going through the straits all the time. And you probably noticed that every once in a while they go after somebody else's. They haven't gone after ours yet. If they do, they've got big problems. But we have very few boats going over there. They were saying the other day they've never attacked an American boat. I'm not asking for trouble, but if they do, they know they have far bigger trouble. But then they said, but you know, we don't see very many American boats over here anymore. This week also brought extraordinary progress to nations of our own hemisphere. In recent days, we've achieved historic asylum cooperation agreements with El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras. We were with El Salvador today. A great young gentleman became the president. He's strong and tough, and he's taking care of crime. He was really something today. I was very impressed with him. And likewise with Honduras, who we met, we signed a cooperation agreement with both, and also with Guatemala. We're working with our partners in Central America to ensure that asylum seekers can pursue relief as close to their home countries as possible. That'll make a tremendous difference at our southern border. And Mexico, I have to say, President Lopez Obrador has been outstanding, and an outstanding partner, and he's doing a great job in Mexico. The cartels are way down, and the numbers, our secretary is here now, the numbers are way down, way down. And we're doing that without the help of Congress, meaning the Democrats in Congress, who won't give us a single vote to take care of loopholes. We have loopholes that are so horrible, and it would be so easy to fix. And they know they should be fixed, but they don't want to do it because they don't want to give Trump any credit. Because it's all about the election. That's all they care about. They don't care about our country. They care about the election. And the sad part is, with all of the tremendous work that we've done this weekend, whether it's Secretary Mnuchin or Secretary Pompeo, who had some outstanding meetings, with all of this tremendous work that we've done, the press doesn't even cover it. And the Democrats did this hoax during the United Nations week. It was perfect, because this way it takes away from these tremendous achievements that we're taking care of doing, that we're involved in New York City at the United Nations. So that was all planned, like everything else. It was all planned. And the witch hunt continues, but they're getting hit hard on this witch hunt, because when they look at the information, it's a joke. Impeachment for that? When you have a wonderful meeting or you have a wonderful phone conversation? I think you should ask. We actually, you know, that was the second conversation. I think you should ask for the first conversation also. I can't believe they haven't, although I heard there's a rumor out they want the first conversation. It was beautiful. It was just a perfect conversation. But I think you should do that. I think you should do. And I think you should ask for VP Pence's conversation, because he had a couple of conversations also. I could save you a lot of time. They were all perfect. Nothing was mentioned of any import other than congratulations. But the word is that they're going to ask for the first phone conversation. You can have it anytime you need it. And also Mike Pence's conversations, which were, I think, one or two of them. They were perfect. They were all perfect. It's very sad what the Democrats are doing to this country. They're dividing, they're belittling, they're demeaning our country. So many leaders came up to me today and they said, "Sir, what you go through, no president has ever gone through, and it's so bad for your country." People laugh at the stupidity of what they've asked for. And here we could do asylum. We could do all of these different things so easily. We could do asylum quickly. We could do loopholes, get rid of them. Instead, we actually make deals with Mexico and with Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras. And we're doing it with them instead of with our Congress. But we're doing it. We get it done. The wall is being built, by the way. It got little coverage. I went to the border. It's going up in New Mexico. It's going up in Arizona. It's going up in California, believe it or not. They really wanted that wall in California and San Diego. As soon as it was completed, they said, "We don't want a wall." They were begging me for a wall. I should take it out and move it to another location. We were with the governor, spoke to him a lot, but the governor of Texas, the lieutenant governor of Texas, attorney general of Texas, the senators of Texas, Corn and Ted Cruz. And we're building an incredible wall. It's going to, number one, it's going to look great. It's going to be virtually impossible to cross unless you're one hell of a mountain climber. It's very tough. It's going to be very tough to get people and drugs over those walls because they're the real deal. I went to the Secretary of Homeland Security, and he got all his people together. I said, give me 4 walls, your optimum, every single thing included. And they give me 20% less, 20% less, and 20% less, meaning less cost. They came back, they said, this is the wall, sir, this would be the best. We have the panels on top, which are anti-climb panels. I don't know if you noticed, the steel on top. We have a different design for a different area, but this anti-climb is very tough. We had people going out and real climbers telling us which is the toughest to climb, but these are anti-climb panels. Very tough to get across, and the wall is going up many miles a week. And we hope to have over 400, but maybe as much as 500 miles, which will pretty much do it because you have a lot of natural barriers. You have mountains, you have really rough rivers, you have some really rough land that you can't cross very easily. So they serve as their natural walls. But we will have, we think, over 400, but we could even have 500 miles to combat the malice and corruption of both the Venezuelan and Iranian dictatorships. Today, I issued proclamations suspending the entry into the United States of senior regime officials and their families. And further, to promote American values, on Monday, I was proud to be the first president in history to host a meeting at the United Nations. I'm so surprised, first president for this. I can't believe that I'm first. I spoke to Franklin Graham about that. I can't believe it. At the United Nations on protecting religious freedom and liberty for people around the world. While some partisans and unelected bureaucrats in Washington may choose to fight every day against the interests and beliefs of the American people, my administration is standing up for the American people like no administration has in many, many years. You forgot the American people. You totally forgot the American people. This week, every week, I really can say, of my presidency, we're standing up for American prosperity, American security, and the American way of life. And together with our friends and partners, we're building a more peaceful, prosperous, and promising future. We have a tremendous relationship now with a lot of nations that are very happy with what's going on. And that includes in South America, where they've been so helpful, where nobody thought this would be possible. The relationship with Mexico as an example, or El Salvador, or Honduras, or Guatemala. Nobody even knew about it, yet we sent them hundreds of millions of dollars. And all we got back was caravans of people pouring in. We had tremendous, it was terrible. And we've got that stopped, and the countries are now helping us. And we stopped those payments, by the way. We don't pay those countries that money anymore. But I will tell you, if they're as good as they seem to be, they're really doing a job on crime and stopping the wrong people from leaving and coming to the United States. We'll be helping them a lot with economic development projects and other things. So with that, we had a tremendous 3 days. It was beautiful to see. Made a lot of new friends. I read you a list of all the countries I saw, pretty much one-on-one. And it's been very busy, but it's been very, very fruitful. So we could take a couple of questions. I'd love some questions on some of the things that we accomplished at UNGA, instead of the witch hunt, the phony witch hunt questions, which I know that's what you want to ask because it's probably better for you, but it's not better for the country. So maybe we'll take a few questions, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. You've suggested that you didn't do anything wrong in the course of your conversations with the Ukrainian president. But can you explain to the American people why it is appropriate for an American president to ask a foreign leader for information about a political rival, and what you would have said if you discovered that Barack Obama perhaps had asked a foreign leader for information about you before you campaigned for the presidency?
Well, that's what he did, isn't it, really, when you think about it? Look, that whole witch hunt was started, and hopefully that'll all come out. But there have been some fantastic books written that just came out, whether you look at Greg Jarrett or McCarthy's book that just came out recently, and so many other books. I mean, a lot of books are coming out. When you start reading those books, you see what they did to us. What they've done to this country is a disgrace. They've hurt this country very badly, and no other president should have to go through what I've gone through. The new president of Ukraine is looking to stop corruption. There's a lot of corruption going on, and there was corruption. I just told you about senators that threatened him with votes and no money coming into Ukraine if they do things. That's really what people are trying to say that I did, but the only difference is I didn't do it. You take a look at that call. It was perfect. I didn't do it. There was no quid pro quo, but there was with Biden, and there was with these senators, and they threatened. They said, you do this, you do that, we're not going to give you votes. That's the real deal. So we have an honest group of people that have been maligned, and it's a lot of people say I'll do even better. I'm very happy. Yesterday, I guess we had a 53 poll, and a lot of people say add 10 points to anything. Anybody voting for Trump, you can add, anytime you get a poll, you can add 10 points or 7 points or 6 points, take it any way you want. But I don't know if I consider that to be a compliment, but in one way it is a compliment, and I guess that's what happened in the last election. Far more people came to vote than anybody thought possible.
So why should the American people then be comfortable with an American president asking a foreign leader for information about an American citizen?
Well, I think you can look at your senators, and you can look at Biden, and you can look at all these other people, but what we're looking for is corruption. An investigation started called the Russian witch hunt, affectionately, and it was a total phony scam. It was set up by people within the government to try and stop somebody from getting elected, and after that person, namely me, won, and convincingly won at 306 to 223 in the Electoral College, which, by the way, when you run a race, if you're running electoral, if you go by the college, Electoral College, that's a much different race than running popular vote. And it's like the 100-yard dash or the mile. You train differently. And I can't help it that my opponent didn't go to Wisconsin and should have gone much more to Michigan and Pennsylvania and other places, but that's the way it is. We won an election convincingly, and then you had the text message on, well, if she doesn't win, we've got an insurance policy. How bad was that? You know, with the insurance policy, that's sort of what has been taking place over the last number of years, the insurance policy. Now, there are a lot of very dishonest people. We're the ones that played it straight. And you know what? The millions of people out there that are looking at what's going on, those people understand it. They see it, and they think it's disgusting. And our people are being hurt, and our country is being hurt. When a Nancy Pelosi allows her position to be taken over by radical far-left socialists, or worse, that's pretty bad. That's pretty bad, especially when the senators and all of these other people have actually done what they're accusing me of doing, which I didn't do. I'm going to have Mike Pompeo say a couple of words. I'm going to have Steve Mnuchin say a couple of words, and then we'll do a couple of more questions.
Mr. President, I thought I'd start by talking about Iran. We had a productive week. We saw the Europeans take a position with respect to the attacks that took place in Saudi Arabia, making clear this was Iran, just as President Trump and I had been saying, and have now joined us in saying that the existing JCPOA framework is just not going to work. It's not going to solve the world's problems. It's not going to create Middle East stability. Then we had a good set of meetings with our Middle East allies as well. The President joined for a meeting of the GCC where we talked again about how we can help deter. We want peace. We want a peaceful resolution with the Islamic Republic of Iran. We're hoping we can get that way. In the end, it'll be up to the Iranians to make that decision, or whether they'll choose violence and hate. And as the President said in his speech yesterday to the General Assembly, if their bloodthirst will continue. We hope that's the net. We hope we can get the opportunity to negotiate with them and get an outcome that's good for both them, for the United States, to make sure that they never have a nuclear weapon and that they can't foment their terror with ballistic missiles and in the way they have all around the world. And I think we made real progress uniting the world on that here over these past few days. Thank you.
Thank you.
Secretary Pompeo said on Iran, we had very good discussions with all of our allies about the sanctions program, which is the maximum pressure and unity on the sanctions program. The Europeans made it very clear they would not do anything without our consent. And then on the economic front, we had the entire economic team here for all the meetings. Secretary Ross, Larry Kudlow, Ambassador Lighthizer just left to go back to D.C. He's working hard on trying to get USMCA passed. But we had a lot of productive discussions, the Japanese trade deal, and a lot of discussions on investing in the U.S., more jobs in the U.S., and more trade. Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Christina Partsinevelos, Fox Business. I want to focus on markets because I'll leave it to everybody else to talk about impeachment. Markets reacted positively after you spoke about China and that it would happen sooner rather than unexpectedly. Yet you have the foreign minister of China saying that they have no intention of unseating the United States, and yet they're investing heavily in infrastructure and military.
Not anymore, maybe.
But what is
And
different
maybe they
this
just say
time?
that, Christine.
What is different this time, though? The fact that you're saying it's progressing.
Oh, I just think it's progressing. I think they want to make a deal. They're losing their supply chain.
Do you have something specific?
Well, I don't want to say that, but I can tell you that these two men, and in this case, more specifically, Steve, we're having some very good conversations. And I guess it's next week that a group is coming in, and the week after. So we have a lot of talks going on, and also by telephone. They want to make a deal, and you know why they want to make a deal? Because they're losing their jobs, and because their supply chain is going to hell, and companies are moving out of China, and they're moving to lots of other places, including the United States, and that's not good. That's far worse than they thought. And by the way, in the meantime, we're taking in billions and billions of dollars in tariffs. We're taking in tremendous numbers in tariffs, and we're helping our farmers who got targeted. Now, by the way, China is starting to buy our agricultural product again. They're starting to go with the beef and all of the different things. Pork, very big on pork. But if you look and if you see, and they actually put out, I think, a statement, but they're starting very heavy to buy our ag again. No, they want to make a deal, and they should want to make a deal. The question is, do we want to make a deal?
If USMCA doesn't pass through Congress, is that it for NAFTA?
Well, that would be a shame. Well, I don't want to answer that question, but you know how I feel about NAFTA. I think NAFTA is the worst trade deal ever made, although I also happen to think World Trade Organization was not one of the greats, not one of the greats. That was the creation of China, which went like a rocket ship from the day they signed. It was terrible. But no, we're going to find out. That's going to be a very interesting question with Nancy and Chuck and all of these people focusing on the witch hunt because they can't beat us at the ballot. They can't beat us at the ballots, and they're not going to win the presidential. We're having great polls. We have internal polls that are Ohio, Iowa, Pennsylvania's looking good. North Carolina, we just won 2 races that a lot of people we thought we were going to lose both those races. One was down 17 points 3 weeks before the race, and he ended up winning by a substantial margin, and Dan Bishop. And then we had a second race, as you know, and he was up 1 or 2 points, and he ended up winning by, what was it, 25 points or some incredible, I'll ask you folks, because I don't want to be inaccurate, otherwise I'll have a front page story. We have breaking news. Trump exaggerated. But he won by many, many points, and he was leading by maybe 2, maybe 3, but he won by in the 20s. So so we're looking great in North Carolina, looking great in Florida. And you had 1 or 2 congressmen, Democrats, saying, listen, we can't beat him at the election, so let's impeach him, right? Didn't you hear Al Green? That's a beauty. He's a real beauty, that guy. But he said very distinctively, it was all over the place. I don't know, they're trying to lose that tape, I guess. But he said, we can't, essentially, he said, we can't beat him, let's impeach him. That's pretty dangerous stuff. Steve, go ahead.
Thank you, sir. You had expressed some concerns about the precedent of releasing the transcript.
I don't
Why
like
did you
it.
go ahead and do it?
Because I was getting such fake news, and I just thought it would be better. And now they're asking for the first phone conversation, and I'll release that too if it's important to you. but they're asking for, because I had a conversation on a previous election plateau that he had hit. The current president hit a couple of different plateaus, and I spoke to him previous to the call that we released, which was a very innocent call, very, very innocent, very nice call. And as he said, I wasn't pushed. I wasn't pushed, meaning pressured. He wasn't pressured at all. But I don't like the concept of releasing calls, because when a president or a prime minister or a king or a queen calls the United States, you don't like to say, gee, we're going to release your call to the fake news media, and they're going to make you look like a fool. What happens is it's hard to do business that way. You want to have people feel comfortable. So I hated it, but you folks were saying such lies, such horrible things about a call that was so innocent and so nice. In fact, Lindsey Graham said to me when he read it, it was very interesting. He's a good man. He's a smart man. He said, I can't believe it. I never knew you could be this really nice to a person. He said, I cannot believe it. You were so nice. I didn't think you had that in you to be so nice. I was nice. I'm nice to a lot of people. People don't understand that. But I was. But he was shocked that it was such a nice call. And he said, there is nothing here. And all fair people say the same thing. But I don't like the precedent, Steve. I don't like it where you're dealing with heads of state and to think that their call is going to be released. But I felt that, and you know, we spoke to Ukraine about it. Mike actually called up his counterpart, and we spoke to Ukraine about it because they could have been, if they didn't want us to do it, we would not have done it. But he actually said that was a very innocent call. You can release it all you want.
And are you now braced for a long impeachment saga?
Well, I thought we won. I thought it was dead. It was dead. The Mueller report, no obstruction, no collusion. You look at all of the things that happened. Corey Lewandowski was fantastic the other day as a person that they have been tormenting. You look at all the people that they've tormented, all the legal fees. People came here with bright eyes. They wanted to make life so great for other people, and they left where they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees that they didn't have. And it's a sad thing. What these Democrats have done to ruin lives is so sad. I have seen people with only good intention. They came to Washington because they wanted to make the United States and the world a better place. And they went home, they were dark. They got hit by Mueller subpoenas. I think there were 2,500 subpoenas or some ridiculous number. 500 people were interviewed, and yet they don't interview Joe Biden and his son. If you're a Democrat, you have automatic protection. That's years and years of people putting in certain people into positions. But when you look at all of the trauma that these fakers have caused, and the press, look, much of the press is not only fake, it's corrupt. These stories they write are corrupt. They're so wrong, and they know that. You know, it used to be, I used to get great press until I ran for politics. I mean, I used to be the king of getting good press. I was very good at it, and I got good. I mean, they covered me well for what otherwise I probably wouldn't be here. And once I ran, I said, boy, this is incredible. But if you see the way they treat my family, used to be treated great. My family works so hard. The people that work with me, these people, all of these people, they work so hard. They've done such a good, look, we have the greatest economy we've ever had. We have a military, $2.5 trillion. We've rebuilt our military. You don't hear the vets complaining. We got choice approved. It couldn't be approved. But when you see what happened with the viciousness, and when you see little Adam Schiff go out and lie and stand at the mic, smart guy, by the way, stand at the mic and act like he's so serious, and then he goes into a room with Nadler, and they must laugh their asses off. They must laugh their asses off. But it's so bad for our country. People have said, Rush Limbaugh, great man. Sean Hannity said it. A lot of people have said it. Mark Levin, they said they don't know if one man anywhere in the world with all the men they know, or woman, that could handle what I've had to handle. And I think that's true, but I handle it. To me, it's like putting on a suit. All right, how about one more question? Question on the economy. a question on the economy. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Hi, Mr. President. VPI-TV from Venezuela, Caracas,
Good,
Venezuela.
good, wow.
Yeah.
How are
We
you
made
doing?
it.
How are you doing over there?
Pretty bad.
Yeah,
Our situation
I would say
is
pretty bad, yeah.
Yeah,
Sad.
but we are fighting.
And it was one of the great countries, and one of the richest countries, not so long ago,
Yeah.
15 years ago. It's incredible.
But we are gonna make it.
Right, I agree with that. And we're helping you.
Yeah.
We're helping you.
Yeah, I know, and thank you.
Go ahead.
I have two questions
Go ahead.
to take advantage of this. Maduro traveled to Russia and Diosdado Cabello to North Korea, two of the most antagonist nations in the U.S. interests. What can be done to contain this? What are they looking for in that country? And because the special envoy, Mr. Abrams, said that the Russians are willing to negotiate it. This is one question. And the other, Mr. President, you say that the socialist is one of the biggest challengers. You said yesterday in the United Nations, but the region is far from safe. Maduro is still a dictator, full in power, and in Argentina and Brazil are under threat about the socialists and populists. Are you worried about it?
Well, I just say that socialism will never happen in the United States, can't happen in the United States. And Venezuela, unfortunately, I have to use your country as the example of what socialism can do, how it can tear the fabric of a country apart. Because I know a lot about Venezuela. I've had many friends of mine come from Venezuela. They live, many in Miami, a certain section of Miami. I won't mention the name because they'll say I'm thinking about my business, and I'm not. But they are fantastic people, and they like your president. They voted overwhelmingly for me. They like what I'm doing for Venezuela. We have Venezuela very much in our hearts and very much in our sights, and we're watching it very carefully. And you know what I would say? We're giving millions and millions of dollars in aid, not that we want to from the Maduro standpoint, but we have to because on a humanitarian, people are dying. They have no food, they have no water, they have no nothing. They're dying, no medicine. Their hospitals are closed or don't even have electricity. It's so sad to see. Let me just say that we have it under control. We're watching it very carefully, and we're going to be very
Russia
we're
is
watching it
negotiating?
very carefully, including other countries that may or may not be playing games. We're watching it very closely.
But you know if Russia is talking with USA or Guaido, what can you tell about us?
Just put this in the back of your mind. It's all going to be fine. We know everything that you said, and it's all going to be fine. We're very much involved. We very much know what's going on, and we're very much involved. Okay? Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you very much.
choice to know is yours. This phrase is one of the several that Q Team has expressed multiple times throughout the 21-month-long 8chan drops. 6 words, that's it. But it truly is the backbone of the whole movement. And once you decide that you indeed do choose to know, the quest begins. In the broader picture, we Anons have studied, researched, put to the test the words versus actions, learned gematria, questioned the standard probability quotient of its possibility, and we've even examined as to whether or not someone rose from the dead within the movement. Talk about a conspiracy theory. This has it all, and as more time goes by, so does the increasingly levitativity of the information being given become. But just like any addict, we cannot get enough, because when you're convicted and given eyes that see and the ears that hear, you need more. The interesting thing for those of us who have spent 21 months engaged, day after day, week after week, and month after month, is that we wish desperately for others to join along in our addiction. We proclaim to anyone that will listen, Q is real. Can't you see what we see? Q is saying here, but most of the time it just falls onto deaf ears. Here's good news for those of you who believe and those that don't. This next phase is called the justice phase, and what you're all about to witness, the mass arrest, the unmasking of their deepest, darkest, vile acts, will boggle the minds of the average human. This was planned years before Trump took office, by not only our fearless leader, but by the little boy standing on the side of the road, saluting as his recently deceased father rolled by in procession. Some understand this, and some don't. Again, that choice is yours. If you've been reading the Q drops, you'd grasp this. If you haven't, you're missing out on the greatest event ever planned and executed in human history. Why would anyone choose not to know about that? Enjoy the show. I'm Michael, this is a Patriot Hour. God bless, Godspeed to each and every one of you worldwide. And where we go one, we go all.
Wide awake while the world is sound asleep, and too afraid of what might show up while you're dreaming. Nobody sees you. Nobody will believe you. And every day you try to pick up all the pieces, all the memories that somehow never leave you. Nobody sees you. Nobody will believe you.
God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. God only knows how it's killing you. But there's a kind of love that God only knows.
God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. But God only knows the real you. 'Cause there's a kind of love that God only knows.
There's a kind of love there's a kind of love.
You keep a cover over every single secret, so afraid if someone saw them they would leave. But somebody sees you. Somebody will never leave you.
God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. God only knows how it's killing you. But there's a kind of love that God only knows.
God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. But God only knows the real you. 'Cause there's a kind of love that God only knows.
There's a kind of love there's a kind of love. There's a kind of love there's a kind of love.
For the lonely, for the ashamed, the misunderstood
breakthrough. God only knows the real you. There's a kind of love that God only knows.
So we may choose that way and justify it by rationalization in order to make ourselves feel better about the bad that we did. In the mystery schools, they refer to this mystical time of coming out of the age of innocence as the Luciferian philosophy. I've tried to illuminate you with this for years on my radio broadcast.
How's it going?
Hey, how you doing? I don't want to bogart the show here, but I do want to say hi, Scott. By the way, you need to stop hiding your handsome face behind that microphone.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you very
Who
much.
knew YouTube could be the new matchmaker? I was joking.
But Mike, I wanted to just say thank you so much. You inspired me. I did a live stream last night. I'm not trying to plug anything, but more people, there's a whole generation, and even, you know, our generation that do not know who Bill Cooper is. Even when they announced his death, they called him a militia member and a talk show host, when in actuality he was a patriot. He people need to go back and listen. I did a whole show informing people of who he was, how he served this country. And yes, Behold a Pale Horse is a great book. However, as you grow and you learn things, you change some things. So he did get away from the alien thing, and he was just
people don't know that. If you don't,
I know.
But you're right. Keep going.
They caught some of his early stuff, and they tried to.
You can always re-show just the early stuff. But yes, he had a whole history, and I'm gonna have to check that show out. I definitely did not. I missed that, but that's awesome that you did that, Elle.
I did it because of you, because of your clips and what he said about, yes, it is possible for a good guy to get in and to do it. It is possible. People need to be patient, okay? The revolution will not be televised. We used to think it would be, but it would cause mass hysteria. And God wins, guys. God wins.
In the Bible or in the church, they talk about the fall of man. Same thing. There's only one difference between the Luciferian philosophy and the fall of man, is that those who talk about the fall of man believe in God, whether or not they believe in a Savior, they believe in God. The ones who believe in the Luciferian philosophy do not.
These people are satanic, and they will go down.
Here's the way they look at it. Here's their metaphor for the end of innocence. Adam and Eve were held prisoner in the Garden of Eden by an unjust, cruel, and vindictive God. Until Lucifer, through his agent Satan, set man free from this garden by giving him the gift of intellect. Through the use of intellect, man will conquer the earth, will conquer nature, and will himself become God. It's taught in every Masonic temple in this land. Every secret brotherhood, every secret society, every mystical temple, every occult organization teaches the Luciferian philosophy. They do not believe in Lucifer. They do not believe in any entity called a devil, and they do not believe in God. It is a mistake for you to assume that they do. They're atheists in the strictest sense of the word. They are humanists.
These people are satanic, and they will go down.
God bless you. That is actually correct. Thanks, Al. Thank you so much.
I got goosebumps all of a sudden, and maybe it's, God, I don't know what. I'm not real good with grammar, so I do apologize. But just what she just said, this takes me back. I'm very humbled. This is exactly why I wanted to do this show, Mike. I mean, there are other people out there that think like us. We're no longer, the quick 10-second, 20-second plug of how Mike and I got started. Too many kept telling us, shut your mouth. Don't talk about it here at the Legion or the bar or wherever him and I happen to be. So,
yes,
I am way taken aback now. This is exactly why we're doing what we're doing. It's great, and I hope you all feel the same way. There's almost 100,000 of us strong now.
Yes.
Subscribers, thank you very much. But how awesome is that to know that we're not alone? I knew we weren't, but how do you reach them? Well, now we have found the platform, and
there's a big story here, folks, and that's exact. I'm glad, and Al hit it on the head. That was the whole reason I made that. I heard people saying, like, well, if you look at his past, this and that, or this person, it's like, well, look at all of our past, and look at what point do you get changed? What point do you figure out something that you want to move forward and operate in a different way? Well, there's a lot of them throughout our time in history. People that have saw things, did things, were part of things, and that's the only reason we even got a glimpse of what's going on is because these people felt something, whether it was God, the hand of God, or just a conscience of their own that this isn't right, and I'm going to try to do something about it. I want to warn people. These are the people we should listen to. Awesome.
Think about how, now I've seen and read and stayed up on a lot of the Cooper stuff. Of course, when I started watching it or listening or whatnot, researching, he was already dead. He never looked or acted scared. He spoke defensively. He was worried for his family. But oh my God, that was a different genre. That was a different time that you and I, he gave us the freedoms that we're doing right now, kind of. Right now, we could be pissing somebody off, pardon my language. We could be upsetting or unraveling or ruffling some people's feathers, but we're not alone in this. They can't go after all of us, but he, in an early stage, was kind of alone, ultimately ending in his death. But he kind of laid the foundation for us, and because of technology, we're not alone anymore, and we don't have to have the same fears that he did. I couldn't imagine having to come over, get in the studio with Mike, say my opinions, talk about being a patriot, talk about the Constitution, and then go get in my vehicle and wonder if my brake lines are cut or something. You know what I mean? But there probably was a time, obviously, when him and Schneider started this type of thing. They were doing it on AM radios, and it was so easy just to knock them off. You know?
Bill Cooper did the one where it was, I don't think ham radio, but similar, where it would only reach so far, and then he'd rely on other people to grab it and beam it out further. No. Funny point on that, L, is so you were inspired to do your live stream last night because of what I put out, which is leading back to Bill. The whole premise of this channel was based off of one of Bill's. I think me and Scott listened to it. I listened to it years before, so 3 years ago I showed it to him again on a journey, and I went to go turn it off after 10 minutes, and he's like, wait, don't touch it. Oh my God.
I was hooked.
I was like, cool. I thought I was going to go somewhere else, but this is one I did want you to listen to, and I'm glad you got hooked. But at the end of that, I think he was in Lansing, Michigan. He's on stage, and he's like, folks, it's mine. And he's talking about the radio station and how you could have your, but this one's mine, and that's why he did this, and you could have it too. And I encourage everyone for a little bit of money. And he was talking about buying these transistors that hooked up to your satellites back in the early 90s, and for several $100 you can get up and running, get a microphone, and you can do this as well.
Freedom to make their political statement. You have stopped yourself. You have stopped everyone. And that must never happen in this country. It must never happen in this country. Because if it does, there'll never be another congregation like this, and you'll never hear me speak again, because I'll be dead. And so will most of you. This country's about freedom. Because only with freedom can you have all of the other things that everybody professes that they want. It's the only way it can be done. I hear all kinds of misconceptions and misstatements. I have the freedom of the press. No, you don't. No, you don't. The man who owns the press has the freedom of the press. And he can say in his press whatever he wants, but you can't. That's why I get angry with Americans when they say, the Jews control the press. Who sold it to them? How'd they get it? You want the press? Start a press. You want to be on the radio? Do it. But stop whining. Stop bitching. Stop complaining. That guy that owns the press, that's his press. He can do with it what he wants. Just like you do with your car what you want because it's your property. He doesn't owe you anything unless you've got a contract with his signature on it that says he will print what you say. If you can't produce that, he doesn't owe you anything. That's America. You know what's wonderful about America? You can have a press. I have a press. How many of you have seen my newspaper? That newspaper's no joke. It makes congressmen cringe when they see it. It scares the hell out of the enemy. You too can have a radio show. I'm going to teach you how just here in just a couple of minutes. You too can publish books like this. I did it. The Harvest Trust is the trust for my children. I'm not rich. I don't have anything. You know how I financed this book? I sold copies before it was printed to people who believed enough in me to buy them. I don't have any money. I have my family. And that's all the wealth I ever need. I don't make any money from my radio show. Veritas has operated in the red from the beginning. It probably always will. But I got something that you don't have. I have a free press. It's mine. And I get to say what I want. And I get to publish what I want and print what I want because it's mine. And I'm free. And it's my free press. That's why I don't care if somebody calls up my radio show and says they don't like what I say. Screw you. Get your own show. I don't care that they complain because I won't let them talk on my radio show. Screw you. Get your own radio show. This is mine. Belongs to me. I don't have any contract with you. I don't owe you anything. I was speaking in California one time. A lady stood up in the middle of the crowd and said, "You make me so angry. You're a terrible man. Why didn't you tell me this years ago?" She was lucky I was telling her then. I didn't owe her anything. But she blamed me because she didn't have the information that I was imparting to her on that day years ago. And I had it years before that. I didn't know how to do it. I would have. Oh, God, I would have. You don't really understand sometimes what a terrible burden it is to know some of the things that I know and try to wake people up and impart this knowledge to them and find out that they just have walls built in front of them. They want to be slaves. But we're making some chinks in those walls.
But here we are today doing it on a total different platform in the same idea. He would be on this as well, or everything, but this is, that's what I always told Scott. We need our own platform instead of just arguing with the same five guys.
And somebody said earlier, and I lost track, but thank you for the compliment. I do say often what I feel and what I think and whatnot, but that's what inspired me. That when I listened to Bill, that's what got to me. If we all just clam up and we don't speak up for our rights and support them and defend them and speak together as a group, we won't be heard, or we will be labeled as conspiratists or BSers or whatever it is. Mike and I don't necessarily always have a platform per se. We just get on here and we talk about today's events. We're not news anchors that a producer and editor's telling us.
We don't have a teleprompter right here.
We bounce ideas.
We're not controlled.
Right. I mean, this is no different than if all 100,000 of us could be at a bar or in my living room or right here and just chatting. This is nothing more than a portal for us to be able to communicate with other people, like-minded people that we wouldn't normally have known about or ever meet or ever see. So it is a powerful movement, and they better fear it. And I don't mean fear it as if we're just going to physically hurt them, but we're hurting.
The biggest fear they have is the public awakening. That their whole guise lies on. So if all of us are awakened to the fact that the real reason they don't want the border is because it would stop the flow of drugs, and how much invested they are into that crap, I don't know, but we're just going to keep it at, if you're awake to the fact when they ignore that and they're on TV saying like, no, it's a racist wall, or saying whatever else it really is, and you know that it's to do with the human trafficking, the drug flow. What do you know their lies now.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
You guys are the pale horse. Bill Cooper would be proud. You know what? Most people wouldn't understand that aren't us. You guys and us. That I'm going to take that home with me tonight with a chip on my shoulder. If I'm compared to Bill Cooper, I've done my job.
The student becomes the teacher.
Yeah. I'd still be the student if they didn't kill him.
Yes.
So that's great. That's a hell of a compliment.
We had to pick up the helm. We had to keep the candle burning.
Somebody had to. I know there's a lot of other channels. I know there's a lot of other thinkers, but too many of them then get to such a high level. And I promise you this, no matter if we reach 1 million, 10 million, or a zillion subscribers, Mike and I are not going to sell out. We're never going to sell our opinions out. There's not a producer in the world that wants me on their microphone anyway. I'm not going to be corrupted or churned. I mean, that's the whole point.
That's huge. And another thing, folks, is a lot of these older Bill Cooper videos I'm bringing back are ones I did earlier on this channel. Of course, YouTube doesn't allow me to.
What is your problem?
Just that, sir.
Okay.
I'm a Christian, sir.
I'm pure and virtuous and wholesome and innocent. How can you say anything about me?
Sir, you need to be born again.
I am born again.
Now, did you just say that you were Lucifer?
I am Lucifer.
Okay, define Lucifer for me.
Pure, virtuous, wholesome, innocent individual that's out to help people.
Lucifer is?
Yeah.
Say that again. Lucifer is a pure, holy...
Virtuous.
Virtuous. Now, is he the Lucifer that God created?
That's the same one.
Oh, man, this is great. I'm going to put this on the internet.
Oh,
Amen.
God bless you.
The rules are suspended. The bill is passed, and without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table. Pursuant to Clause 1C of Rule 19, further consideration of H.R. 2203 will now resume. The clerk will report the title.
Union Calendar number 122, H.R. 2203. A bill to increase transparency, accountability, and community engagement within the Department of Homeland Security, provide independent oversight of border security activities, improve training for agents and officers of the U.S. Customs and Border Protection and U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and for other purposes.
The House will come to order. Members in the rear of the chamber will take their conversations off the floor. For what purpose does the gentleman from Tennessee rise?
Madam Speaker, I have a motion to recommit at the desk.
Is the gentleman opposed to the bill?
I am in its present form, Madam Speaker.
The gentleman qualifies. The clerk will report the motion.
Mr. Green of Tennessee moves to recommit the bill H.R. 2203 to the Committee on Homeland Security with instructions
To dispense with reading.
Is there objection to dispensing?
Dispensing with the reading. That objection, reading is dispensed with. Gentlemen, suspend. Pursuant to the rule, the gentleman from Tennessee is recognized for 5 minutes in support of his motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Over 180 jurisdictions in the United States, including our most populated cities and states, have passed laws prohibiting local law enforcement from cooperating with federal immigration officials. In these sanctuary jurisdictions, local law enforcement is barred from complying with lawful detainers from Immigrations and Customs Enforcement. An ICE detainer is a notice to another law enforcement agency that ICE intends to assume custody of an illegal alien. It includes information on their criminal history. The Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals found that ICE administrative warrants, which unlike criminal warrants are not issued by a judge, are in fact sufficient to detain in a county jail someone whom ICE might deport, even if they've been granted bail or their charges have been dropped. Madam Speaker, there are many accounts of innocent men and women and children murdered, raped, or assaulted.
If we look
by
to the
criminal
answer
aliens released
as to why for so many years we achieved so much, prospered as no other people on earth, it was because here in this land we unleashed the energy and individual genius of man to a greater extent than has ever been done before. Freedom and the dignity of the individual have been more available and assured here than in any other place on earth. The price for this freedom at times has been high, but we have never been unwilling to pay that price. Those who say that we're in a time when there are no heroes, they just don't know where to look. The sloping hills of Arlington National Cemetery, with its row upon row of simple white markers bearing crosses or stars of David, they add up to only a tiny fraction of the price that has been paid for our freedom. Each one of those markers is a monument to the kind of hero I spoke of earlier. Their lives ended in places called Belleau Wood, the Argonne, Omaha Beach, Salerno, and halfway around the world on Guadalcanal, Tarawa, Pork Chop Hill, the Chosin Reservoir, and in 100 rice paddies and jungles of a place called Vietnam. Under one such marker lies a young man, Martin Treptow, who left his job in a small-town barber shop in 1917 to go to France with the famed Rainbow Division. There on the Western Front, he was killed trying to carry a message between battalions under heavy artillery fire. We're told that on his body was found a diary. On the flyleaf, under the heading, "My Pledge," he had written these words: "America must win this war. Therefore I will work, I will save, I will sacrifice, I will endure. I will fight cheerfully and do my utmost as if the issue of the whole struggle depended on me alone." We must realize that no arsenal or no weapon in the arsenals of the world is so formidable as the will and moral courage of free men and women. It is a weapon our adversaries in today's world do not have. It is a weapon that we as Americans do have. Let that be understood by those who practice terrorism and prey upon their neighbors. As for the enemies of freedom, those who are potential adversaries, they will be reminded that peace is the highest aspiration of the American people. We will negotiate for it, sacrifice for it. We will not surrender for it now or ever. We are Americans.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, is indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. Welcome to the Patriot Hour. Please subscribe, hit the like button, hit the like button, thumbs up.
We got another great article here today from Greg Rubini at Greg Rubini on Twitter. If you haven't joined Twitter yet, we highly recommend it to follow along with some great people that have done the research, connected the dots, and brought you a great piece right here. Declassification has begun. Hillary Clinton's collusion with the Chinese government, HRC, was, for all purposes, sending all of her emails to a Chinese government front company when Secretary of State and also after her tenure at the State Department. HRC collusion with the Chinese government? Senator Grassley declassified documents just released 2 nights ago, 105 pages, as you see right here. Now, the FBI was informed of the HRC China connection back in 2015, but did nothing about it. Absolutely nothing. FBI covered up the whole thing during the Clinton email investigation, involving Peter Strzok, Comey, McCabe, and many more at the FBI and at the Obama DOJ. Now, the FBI was informed of the HRC emails going to the Chinese government by 2 officers of the Inspector General of the Intelligence Community, ICIG, and that would be Frank Rucker and Jeanette McMillan. Who was the Inspector General of the Intelligence Community, the ICIG? It was none other than Charles McCullough. And he's got a lot to say. Listen to what the former IC Inspector General Charles McCullough says right here.
Blowback to me, to my family, to my office.
Few people know more about the Clinton emails and the fallout than Charles McCullough, the former internal watchdog for the U.S. intelligence community.
What should the American public know about those 22 top secret Clinton emails?
I've heard people say this is overblown. I've heard people say this is much ado about nothing. Had the information been released, there would have been harm to national security.
So putting lives at risk.
Absolutely. Sources and methods, lives, operations.
Speaking exclusively to Fox, McCullough says he went to Director of National Intelligence James Clapper about a year before the presidential election. The intelligence agencies had just found their classified information in the Clinton emails.
He read through these affidavits very thoroughly, and he said this is extremely reckless. And he mentioned something about the campaign will have heartburn about that or something.
Shortly after, McCullough says his team was marginalized.
You felt you were on your own in this.
I was totally on my own, and I was told by senior officials to keep the director out of it.
You drafted this letter in January 2016.
Sure did.
In the letter, McCullough told Congress that emails beyond top secret passed through the former Secretary of State's unsecured personal server.
All of a sudden, I became a shill of the right. I was told by members of Congress, be careful, you're losing your credibility. There are people out to get you.
By February 2016, Clinton campaign emails released via WikiLeaks suggest McCullough was a target.
I think there was certainly a coordinated strategy. In fact, I not only think it, I think it very, very much so.
Based on evidence?
Yes.
James Clapper, he went to him, say it ain't so. There was personal blowback to me, to my family, to my office, by the Clinton people. After that, I was totally marginalized and threatened. So the former IC Inspector General Charles McCullough was threatened. By whom? In the video, he says by members of the Hillary Clinton campaign. Who? John Podesta? Sid Blumenthal? Cody Shearer? And who else threatened the IC Inspector General Charles McCullough? John Brennan? James Clapper? Let's take a look at this.
Even though the FBI email investigation...
Have you ever felt?
Are you listening?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Q 2452. Thank you for your service to our country, Mr. Jeff Sessions. Your sacrifice will never be forgotten. Q+. Q Post 2453. The Senate was the key. We got a repost here of 2451 and 2442. History's being made. You are the survivors of mankind. Thanks for your service, Mr. Gowdy, Mr. Bob Goodlatte.
Are you listening?
There was once a time when our children stood at attention. put their hand on their heart and in one united voice recited the Pledge of Allegiance. There was once a time when strength and honor meant something. There was once a time when standing for our flag meant something. There was once a time when our history, our heritage, was taught with pride and respect. There was a time when respect was given to those who served, bled, and died to protect and defend our God-given freedoms. There was a time when we were grateful. There was a time when these United States of America, one nation under God, was united. There was a time when these United States of America, one nation under God, was united under one flag. There was a time when we, the people, decided our future. There was a time when we, the people, had a voice. There was a time when we, the people, were united and strong. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It is time we, the people, reclaim what is rightfully ours. May God bless America and all those who defend and protect her against all enemies, foreign and domestic. We stand together as patriots. Where we go one, we go all. Home of the brave and land of the free. This is the Patriot Hour. I'm Michael. God bless. Godspeed to each and every one of you worldwide. Remember, stand for the flag, kneel for the cross. Why are we here? What is patriotism? Well, Webster's dictionary defines it as love for or devotion to for one's country. Or some might say the duty of a true patriot is to protect his or her country from its own government. Ladies and gentlemen, my daughter.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Why are we here? Why are we providing crumbs? Think Memo. Building the army. Not convinced this whole queue is spreading? You, the people, you have the power. You, the people, just forgot how to play. Together you are strong, apart you are weak. They want you divided. They want race wars. They want class wars. They want religious wars. They want political wars. They want you divided. Learn. For God and country, learn. Stay strong. Stay together. Fight, fight, fight. This is more important than you can imagine. I'm Michael. This is a Patriot Hour. God bless, Godspeed to each and every one of you worldwide. Where we go one, we go all. Decide for yourself. Be free from outside opinion. Decide for yourself. Be objective in your conclusions. Decide for yourself. Be true in your own beliefs. Decide for yourself. Be open to following the facts. Decide for yourself. Be strong in defending your beliefs. Decide for yourself. Be resistant to blindly accepting factless statements. Decide for yourself and be free. Those who attack you, those who mock you, those who call you, those who control you, those who label you, do they represent you, or do they represent themselves in some form? Mental enslavement, the Great Awakening, freedom of thought, was designed and created not only as a back channel to the public, away from the long-standing mind control of the corrupt and heavily biased media, to endure future events through transparency and regeneration of individual thought, breaking the chains of groupthink, but more importantly, aid in the construction of a vehicle, a ship that provides the scattered free thinkers with a starter, a new social networking platform which allows for freedom of thought, expression, and patriotism, or national pride, the feeling of love, devotion, and the sense of attachment to a homeland and alliance with other citizens who share the same sentiment. When non-dogmatic information becomes free and transparent, it becomes a threat to those who attempt to control the narrative and or the stable. When you are awake, you stand on the outside of the stable, groupthink collective, and have free thought. Free thought is a philosophical viewpoint which holds that positions regarding the truth should be formed on the basis of logic, reason, and empiricism rather than authority, tradition, revelation, or dogma. When you are awake, you are able to clearly see the choice is yours and yours alone. Trust and put faith in yourself. You are not alone, and you are not in the minority. Difficult truths will soon see the light of day. Where we go one, we go all. Folks, it has been one of the greatest pleasures of my life running the Patriot Hour and meeting all of you patriots. You guys really are some of the greatest patriots a fellow's ever seen. Again, I'm Michael. This is a Patriot Hour. God bless, Godspeed to each and every one of you worldwide. Where we go one, we go all. please like, share, and make a comment on this video. We're heavily shadow banned, so share while you can across all social media platforms. It helps beat the YouTube algorithm. You can manually share it where their algorithms are not. Thank you. We know the entire world is watching. Patriots from around the world are praying for America. We are all bound by a feeling deep inside, a feeling that cannot be publicly expressed for fear of ridicule, a feeling that challenges the mainstream narrative against that which we are told to accept and not dare question. Put simply, that people are being abused by those in power, and time is running out. That's why I'm here. Do you remember the battles of Lexington and Concord? Give me liberty or give me death? For far too long we have been silent and allowed our bands of strength that we once formed to defend freedom and liberty to deteriorate. We became divided. We became weak. We elected traitors to govern us. We allowed evil to prey on us. Those who claimed to represent us gave us false hope, made false promises. The evil and corruption only grew. Folks, this is more than party politics. This is about restoring old glory. This is about saving our land and our people from those who wish us harm. This is about preserving our republic. This is about preserving our safety. This is about restoring our strength. This is about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This is about protecting our children. This is about saving America. We are all God's children. We are fathers. We are mothers. We are daughters. We are sons. We are brothers. We are sisters. We do not look at race. We do not look at skin color. We're united in these states of America. We are here and we will always be patriots. We must rise up again. We must unite again. We must fight again for God and country. Who's going to answer the call? God bless America. Where we go one, we go all. I'm Michael. This is a Patriot Hour. God bless, Godspeed to each and every one of you worldwide.
Hey now, all you sinners, put your lights on. With your lights on. Hey now, all you lovers, with your lights on. With your lights on. Hey now, all you killers, with your lights on. With your lights on. Hey now, all you children, leave your lights on. Leave your lights on, 'cause there's a monster living under my bed, whispering in my ear. There's an angel with a hand on my ear. Say I got nothing to fear. There's a darkness that's living deep in my soul. Still got a purpose to serve. So let your light shine deep into my hole. God, don't let me lose my nerve. Don't let me lose my nerve. Whispering in my ear, there's an angel with a hand on my head. Say I got nothing to fear. She said, you'll shine like stars. Shine like stars.
An update on the FBI's investigation of Secretary Clinton. What I want to do is tell you what we're recommending, but first, let me tell you what we found. 110 emails in 52 email chains have been determined to contain classified information.
What difference at this point does it make?
8 of those chains were top secret, 36 of those chains secret, and 8 contained confidential information.
What difference at this point does it make?
Everything I did was permitted. There was no law, no regulation.
Secretary Clinton should have known that an unclassified system was no place for that conversation.
I did not email any classified material to anyone on my email.
None of these emails should have been on any kind of unclassified system, not even Gmail.
But first of all, nothing was marked classified.
To the contrary.
Nothing was marked classified.
There is evidence
Nothing was marked classified.
Now let me tell you what we found. 110 emails.
It was not the best choice.
52 email chains.
It was a mistake.
Have been determined to contain classified information.
What difference at this point does it make?
8 of those chains were top secret.
Wasn't the best choice.
6 of those chains
I said it was a mistake.
8 contained confidential information.
What difference at this point does it make?
With respect to our recommendation, this is going to be an unusual statement in at least a couple of ways. Although there is evidence, our judgment is that no reasonable prosecutor would bring such a case. I know there will be intense public debate. I know there will be intense public debate. I know there will be intense public debate. What difference at this point does it make? 110 emails.
It wasn't the best choice.
52 email chains.
I made a mistake.
Have been determined to contain classified information.
What difference at this point does it make?
8 of those chains were top
It was not a good choice.
6 of those chains
I said it was a mistake.
and 8 contained confidential information.
What difference at this point does it make?
The end of central banking. The economy is imploding. Expect all fingers pointing at the Fed. Central banking is the single biggest threat for humanity. The promise of socialism is the justification to plunder. The economy is in a meltdown. The world's monetary system is being deliberately destroyed. Consequently, the economic signals that guide the markets, which in a free market are supposed to represent the supply and demand decisions of billions of people, have up to now all been totally false, despite frequent denials by the central banks and most mainstream economists. These distortions in the market are a result of intentional manipulations of currency and precious metal values around the world by these central bankers, crafted in response to demand for competing export opportunities, easy money, and cheaper credit by governments. The world is indoctrinated to believe that paper money, the symbol of wealth, is that can deliver all the benefits of the free market, while gold is a barbarous, useless metal. This, of course, isn't true. All central banks are owned by Rothschild. All these banks are responsible for the economic problems. Therefore, all these banks must be brought down together. In other words, we must bring down the entire Rothschild banking system. We must break away from the central banking system and return to a people's currency system by implementing a people's economy. It should be an economy in which we, the people, are in charge and in full control of the money supply. You know, like our Constitution says. Most people overlook this aspect of the economy, but this monetary system is a great part of the deep state's power. By controlling the currency system of every country, the people of the world are easily controlled, with economic growth instituted on the base of fraud and corruption. That's the reason why these central banks don't want to be audited. The banking system is riddled with waste, fraud, abuse, crime, corruption, blackmail, deception. And when one takes a deeper look into the governments that are factually based on this Rothschild system, it's all about crime and corruption. It is the exact same thing that takes place in the financial sector. What needs to be done is the entire economic system needs to be brought to its knees, like they've brought countries. While all the crimes of the complicit banksters needs to be exposed. But before they are brought down, Trump is continually blaming the central bank for the bad economy, over and over again. Why? In order to waken people up, so they are awake to these truths and eventually better understand and see this gigantic crime network for what it is. working against humanity. Meanwhile, Trump has tricked the MSN, mainstream media, to go along with him, where they are too now blaming the Fed bank system for deteriorating the economy. It is impossible to improve the current economy with a financial system that is based on this debt. The whole system has to be destroyed. The power must be given back to the people, since all financial schemes are malicious, Rothschild inventions, including institutions like the BIS, the IMF, the ECB, the WB, the BOJ, so on, so forth. By raising the interest rates, the system will break down, at which time the focus can be shifted to the Fed, the ECB, the BOJ, etc. Central banking is the single biggest threat for humanity. The central bank is the biggest threat to the world. The amount of control and power that a central bank has in each country is simply off the charts. No one else has so much power, enabling them to make or break countries by putting countries into debt. Matter of fact, the only thing that gives our money value is how much of it is in circulation. Therefore, the power to regulate the money supply is also the power to regulate its value, which is also the power to bring entire economies and societies to its knees. Look no further than in the 1930s here in America. Now the central banks consequently do exactly what they want. Once a country is put into debt, for then they have the leverage to control them. They know this very well. They've studied it, they've practiced it, and they've done it in real time for centuries. This truly is the single biggest threat to the world. That is the reason this financial system has got to be destroyed, while at the same time making sure that never again does a central bank wiggle its way into existence anywhere. The people have a right to coin their own currency. Nowadays, governments are devaluing the money constantly, causing everything that people have worked for to disappear right before their very eyes. We simply need to return to a real asset-backed monetary system without a private central bank, and let the people take control. Now keep in mind, the Federal Reserve Central Bank is the last remaining game of the deep state. The Federal Reserve is its backbone. Reports suggest that the alliance is preparing for one last push on the deep state by proposing to end the Fed. Now this termination will be the final blow that will render the deep state powerless, ensuring their complete demise. There's no turning back for them this time. The course of humanity will be changed in the blink of an eye. It will be shocking, and many who are oblivious to the truth will be overwhelmed and most likely in disbelief. The beginning of a very painful process of awakening for those who are not yet awake. I'm Michael. This is a Patriot Hour. God bless, Godspeed to each and every one of you worldwide. Where we go one, we go all. And remember, this is not about religions or party affiliation. Evil is everywhere. There are no drawn lines, no boundaries. Good versus evil. There is nothing more precious than our children. The choice to know will be ultimately yours. These people are sick, and good will always defeat evil. And we understand that there is extreme fatigue and frustration regarding the wheels of justice and how they move slow, but exclude your emotion and your personal desire. Instead, use logic and critical thinking based on situational awareness. What does it take to undo a lifetime of evil and corruption, an infestation to the highest levels in the span of less than 2 years, with a corrupt DOJ and FBI and etc. and so on. This is process and planning of law and order, a military operation at its finest. God bless.